Roads, what are they good for? Absolutely everything. In ancient times, we did not even have roads. They only appeared around 1993, same time as the Jurassic Park movie. These days, roads are widely used and can be seen in most households and sometimes even on the street. Today, we are reviewing a game called Railroad Inc., a roll and write game about drawing roads and railroads, which according to our research team is just another type of road. I love roads, and before I tell you more about the game, I wanted to share some of the ways I use roads daily. Roads are an excellent means of traveling. Some people like to cross them, I prefer to walk along them. Not only are you in natural environments, such as exhaust fumes, but it's the perfect opportunity to wander wistfully and lose all sense of your surroundings. Roads also serve as a perfect spot for meditation. The concrete paving puts you in almost direct contact with the soil of our planet, and there is no better location to close your eyes and enter a trance. This is Railroad Inc. and also this is Railroad Inc. What better way to indulge yourself than with two different colored copies of the same game, especially when it's a game that looks this gorgeous and the box has a very satisfying magnetic clasp. As soon as I got Railroad Inc., I immediately wanted to show it to all my friends and I wanted to pack my bags and go live in this gorgeous world of roads and railroads. But I sense that you already have so many questions, even though I've told you nothing about the game yet, such as why is there two, what is the difference, and do I need to get both? The answer to that last one is a strict no. The main game in each box is exactly the same, coming with 4 dice, a rulebook, 6 marker pens, and 6 sheets to draw your crazy gridlocks. However, each box comes with 4 additional dice that all together serve as 4 variants: rivers and lakes in the deep blue edition, and meteorites and lava in the blazing red. And of course, if you have a lot of friends coming over, you can combine the sheets from both boxes for a whopping 12-player game. Nobody has that many friends. Or is that just me? If you're not familiar with roll and writes, we recommend watching a rundown on the genre, but for the purposes of this video, all you need to know is that the general principle is you roll some dice and record the results. And the start of the game is a vast field of possibilities. In this case, literally. As the game progresses, your choices set you on a narrowing path. You'll have to use your wits to fill in results wisely, and you'll need a bit of luck hoping that just the right things are rolled. Or in this case, railroad! Don't go. Railroad Inc. is no different. At the start of each of the 7 rounds of the game, one player, doesn't matter who, will pick up the 4 dice and roll all of them, and then everyone will proceed to curse themselves out loud, because each of the die faces that came up has to be drawn, no matter how stupid, inconvenient, or just unfortunate it was. Which is simultaneously thematic and hilarious, although when I say hilarious, I don't want you to think that this game is full of raucous laughter. More on that later. Railroad Inc. undeniably puts you in the role of a city planner because your objective is to connect as many railroad and or road exits together as possible. The more exits you have connecting in one network, the more points you will score at the end of the game. Did you want to be a city planner when you grew up? No? Well, tough luck, because now you are one, and the city wants you to build a bunch of stupid roads and or railroads that don't at all make sense. It's a tough job, but someone has to do it, or not. I mean, you could not do it, but then you can't play the game. So, in the words of Shia LaBeouf, just do it. The best part, of course, is that the results on the die are not numbers or shapes like in other roll and writes. They are routes, and you have to draw them with your marker. Which might seem like an insignificant detail, but for me, it's the thing that makes this game. We recently delved into the world of miniature wargaming, and I was amazed at how much the act of painting the miniatures brought a sense of ownership, which is always a nice thing in a digital age. Railroad Inc. couldn't be further away from a miniature wargame, but in that regard, they are the same. You draw your network, and thus it becomes your network, and through this act of drawing, you connect with the game. No pun included. Let's show you how this works in practice, which is the part in the script where I roll just roll some dice and improv, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Excellent, we got a good combination of roads and railroads, which is useful because at the end of the day, all we're trying to do is lead these routes to exits. If the exit is a railroad exit, we obviously want a railroad leading there. Whereas if the exit is a road exit, we obviously want a road. So let's try and draw these. Cool, okay, that's a railroad and it forks off into many directions. So that's useful. So we're gonna draw this railroad here. And then the question is, which way does it go? I say we're gonna point it towards the center, because you see, here's the thing. Every route that you draw on one of the 9 center spaces is a point at the end of the game. We're also wanting to extend our railroad because at the end of the game, your longest railroad line will score a point each, and also your longest road line will score a point each. So we want longer roads and no railroads, but because we actually want to draw them towards the exits, we're gonna draw one here. So these two were easy, but now I have to draw this somewhere, which converts a railroad to a road, and I obviously don't want to draw it here because that would kind of ruin it. But also I want to draw this. I could draw it leading from this exit, but I think I'm just gonna start a new road here leading. So that's a thing. What if I put this here and no, that's just the dead end, and dead ends score you negative points at the end of the game. I could draw one of these special connectors that go 4 ways, and that would be useful because then I would connect this road to the exit. But you see, here's the problem. Then I have this road leading into nowhere. I could draw this connector here into this space, but then my longest railroad would end. I think this went well. Railroad Inc. is almost therapeutic, and it doesn't even matter how many people you play it with. You can do it with a large crowd of friends or even just by yourself. You knee deep in drawing patterns, trying to figure out the next best move, satisfied when you roll exactly the right route and it clicks, or cursing out loud if it doesn't, which is funny if you're playing this on your own in a coffee shop, which Railroad Inc. gets the dubious honor of being the first game I have ever done this with. And you know what? It didn't even feel weird. It was the equivalent of opening up a crossword puzzle and just going to town. And do you know what you need to go to town? Roads. Or railroads. It all makes sense in my head somehow. Roll and Write aficionados might notice the similarities to Kokoro or Avenue, a previous roll and write game where you also drew routes on a square grid. We have considered Kokoro for our roundup of roll and writes, but ultimately dismissed it for simply not being good enough. Is Railroad Inc. better? Yes. Definitely. The problem with Kokoro was that you drew each route piecemeal as it came along. We always felt like the game was just trying to be more clever than it ever was. Each decision hurt your head with a myriad of potential consequences, which were ultimately unpredictable. Railroad Inc., however, says here's 4 dice, 4 results to play around with however you like. Will you draw this railroad here? Great, you could use the other 3 dice to connect it to this exit. Or should you use this opportunity to spread out? It's really up to you, and whilst that myriad of possibilities you're creating is even greater, you always feel a much stronger sense of control. You get to flex some thinking muscles rather than just reacting to whatever it is you're dealt. Yet railroading is no less punishing. Just as soon as you start getting that feeling that you're in control, things ironically go out of control. You might draw a road leading directly to an exit. All you need is a straight line to connect it, and the game just keeps throwing corners at you. Corners that are no good and don't go anywhere. And if you only had anticipated corners, if only you set it up with corners in mind, things would be different. They would be good, and now you've just been laughed out of the city planning committee and forced to take a job as a local cat orchestra conductor, waking up every morning realizing that your life is a sham, wishing that in your twilight years you just had that one more shot, one opportunity for a comeback to prove to them all that you are the best city planet this side of the Thames. And guess what? Once the game is done in Railroad Inc., you can just wipe it all away and start over again. And that balance of control and wishing that just the right face tumbled your way stays with the game's 4 mini expansions. Lakes, for example, give you an opportunity to draw a large body in the middle of your grid, which could potentially serve as a big connector as long as you're lucky enough to be able to draw ferry ports at the right time. Or maybe not just at the right time. Maybe not a single ferry port will be rolled in the entirety of the game, forcing players to just draw big blobs of water getting in the way, and then you get annoyed so much that you draw Pac-Man. But it's fine because everyone is exactly in the same boat in the middle of the lake, stuck, just not being able to get out. See, thematic again. Or lava. You could play with lava, but don't, because lava, in case you haven't heard, well, burns your arms off. But do play with lava because it's fun. Similarly to lakes, you will draw big blobs in the middle of your map, but there are no ferry ports. That would just be silly. Instead, you have to perfectly encase your lava, just contain it. And if you do, for each lava that's encased, at the end of the game, you will get 5 points. See, it's just a little bit different. It's essentially the same game, adding just a smidge of variety. So, which of these boxes should you get? Which of them contains the set of expansion that adds just the right kind of spice when the main game is played out? Well, actually, I'm really excited to tell you about this. We have played a lot of them, and I mean a lot of them. We spent hours and hours testing and recording the data, and then we handed that data off to some of our friends who understand computers better than we do, and they've inputted into an algorithm, and the algorithm produced a flowchart that helps you make an informed decision. This is the flowchart. It's very good, isn't it? Scientific science. Some more science. Okay, honestly, jokes aside, I believe that in the case of this game, this silly chart actually works. The expansions in blue are slightly calmer and more controlled, whereas the expansions in red are more disruptive and wild. But they're not distinct enough from each other that if you get one that you're gonna somehow be missing out on the other, which I think is a remarkable achievement. So really, if you like blue, get blue. And if you like red, well, you're wrong, because blue is the better color. But sure, get red. I think it's clear that I like Railroad Inc. very, very much, but this is where I have to come clean. This is not the best roll and write game, and I suspect that because of the artwork and the ambiance, I like it more than I should. If I were to be very strict with myself, I would have to admit that if you don't yet own Welcome to and Ganz Schon Clever, you should probably get those first, simply because they are better games. It all comes down to how each of these games ends. In Ganz Schon Clever, for example, each dice roll, even if every single roll came down to exactly what you don't need, is an opportunity to get creative and figure out how to utilize those results. In Railroad Inc., that is true up until the very last moment, in which you roll the dice and you either get what you need or you don't. And that result is binary. And of course, you can look back at your game and see the exact mistake that you made. If only you had not drawn that route there, everything would have worked out. But then you realize that that mistake was arbitrary. The results were never predictable, so how could you have known? Don't get me wrong, this is just me really flexing my reviewer muscles and applying the most rigorous of criteria to find a fault. Railroad Inc. is a joyous, meditative medley, a serene box of gorgeous artwork and of you just sitting down and drawing some routes. It's nice. It's very, very nice. And even if that's the nicest thing I can say about it, I am perfectly happy with it. If you enjoyed this double feature of a single board game, then you should hit all of the buttons on YouTube, and that way you'll let it know that, hey, this was a good video and more people should see it. And if you liked us so much you want to see us live, well, we're coming to a board game convention in Canada called Sharks, organized by the Shut Up and Sit Down people, and we're going to be doing a show there. And that show is called What Board Game Is This Song About? The Sharks Edition, which is a long title, I know, but trust me, it's worth it. If you don't believe us, watch the previous one. The thumbnail will appear somewhere at some point at the very end, and then you'll be able to click on it and watch the first one. It was good. This one's going to be even better, and we have a guest list for it. We're going to have Christian Kang from Take Your Chits. We're going to have Alan Girding from Tuesday Night Podcast, and also of Two Rooms and a Boom fame. And also we're going to have Marguerite Cottrell or Maggie Bob from Twitter, and we're going to have our friend Claire, which you don't know about, but we're excited about having our friend Claire, but mostly we're excited that each team captain is going to be Matt Lees and Paul Dean. And when I say each, I mean we're going to split them and clone them, and then each team will have a Matt Lees and a Paul Dean. That's not going to work, but don't worry about it. We're going to try, because we're mad scientists. This really didn't go anywhere, so just click the... I think we're done. This was good. Enjoy yourself.